Race plays a role in this, right? And so we see it. Yes.
Daniel Penny is a hero. You can say anything you want. Talk to people who ride the subway every day. Because I do all the time. I do all the time.
So let me
I can't find anyone who rides the subway who's unhappy about this verdict.
He was the criminal on that subway car that day. And somebody on his side yelled out in the courtroom, "It's a racist country." Hello, madam or sir, that's not working anymore. You're going to have to find a new line. I don't know what it's going to be. But the BLM era is officially over. It's over.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope all's good wherever you are. Daniel Penny, a hero, has been released, found not guilty. Excellent day for America. Horrible day for BLM, who really should be, at this point, classified as a terrorist organization. I mean, the protests going on now and the chance of violence in the streets. Someone put these people in jail. Megyn Kelly just went ham on BLM and the left, and I'm going to play you the clip. But first, I want to show you a couple of clips of CNN absolutely melting down over this. Have a look.
That Daniel Penny should get the Congressional Gold Medal to recognize his heroism. I'm not asking you about anyone else.
I think he ought to get medal. I think they ought to build a statue to this guy in New York City.
I think that race, and I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the dreaded R word. Race plays a role in this, right? And so we see it. Yes, absolutely, because statistics say that.
Wasn't there a similar case in New York City at the same time this one was going on?
That when people kill people who are white, they tend to get harsher sentences, especially if they're people of color.
What about the Jordan Williams case?
That is what happens in our criminal justice system. No, I'm not going to stop because race absolutely plays a role in this.
I said, what about the Jordan Williams case here in New York? Same situation, African-American, gets on a subway, ends up killing a guy, grand jury tosses it out at the exact same time as the Penny case.
What about Bernard Getz?
Later in the night, we're also going to talk about Penny and the verdict there. Mm-hmm. There you also have a victim who somebody determined did not deserve to continue living, right?
No.
Yeah, tell me which vigilante action is okay.
One is being proactive, right? So this kid who executed someone, executed a guy walking away from him, shot him in the back, for no reason whatsoever. Daniel Penny is a hero. You can say anything you want. Talk to people who ride the subway every day. Because I do all the time. So I can't find anyone who rides the subway who's unhappy about this verdict.
Well,
yeah, comparing the Daniel Penny case or situation on the subway where he protected people from a career criminal with 42 priors. Listen, Jordan Neely would still be alive today if he was in jail like he should have been. And the same could be said for George Floyd. Now, let's get to Megyn Kelly going off.
Thank God Daniel Penny has been found not guilty. Thank God. Thank God. I think all of us are feeling the same thing. Thank God. And how on earth was he charged in the first place? Right? And we are going to dissect those two questions. Well, thank God is something we're thinking about a lot these days. I think since November 5th, a lot of us have been saying that many, many times. Things are about to change in America for the good, in the world for the good. They're already starting to. But it feels like divine intervention because that thug, Alvin Bragg, brought these charges where they never should have been brought. And then as his case was falling apart on Friday, you remember we had Maureen here, Callahan, he refused to accept a mistrial when the jury was hung. They were hung on the most serious charge that had been brought against Daniel Penny, accused of killing Jordan Neely, just a Michael Jackson impersonator on the subway. No, that's not what happened. Jordan Neely got on that subway and was menacing, seriously threatening the other passengers. They were terrified and they testified to exactly that in front of this jury. They never should have brought the case, but Bragg charged reckless homicide against Daniel Penny, which is a very serious charge. It's manslaughter. And the jury could not reach a verdict on it. The next rung down was criminally negligent homicide, which is a lower burden, right? Recklessness is worse than negligence. Recklessness is you see the risk and you recklessly disregard it. Negligent is you were negligent in failing to see the risk. But Bragg only charged that top charge to try to get to a compromise verdict on negligent homicide. He knew he didn't have Daniel Penny on recklessness. That disgusting thug. Again, he did this to Trump, and now he did this to Daniel Penny, and now finally a jury has given him the double-barrel bird of F off. Alvin Bragg, stop doing this shit. He won with his first jury with Trump, as you know, but the American people overruled him. So now the jury was sent back to go deliberate on the serious but less serious charge of criminally negligent homicide. And that's where they were told to resume this morning at 9 a.m. And Alvin Bragg's play was that once they couldn't get to a verdict on the most serious one, in his mind, I think he thought they'd been in the jury room and they'd say, okay, his best case scenario was they'd go along with him on that one. His next best was they won't go along with me on that and they'll acquit on that one. But as a compromise verdict, they'll go for the negligent homicide. What happened on Friday was they couldn't reach a verdict on the most serious charge. And that's the point at which the defense lawyer asked for a mistrial. And that request should have been granted. That's what should have happened. But instead, they allowed the prosecution to drop the charge, like it had never been brought. Like, we can just keep going. Let's just not pretend the jury's deadlocked at all. We still have a viable claim in there. And the judge did it. And so there was real risk. Can you imagine if the jury had gone along with this and it said, okay, all right, fine, we will find him guilty of the one he was really going for all along, the criminally negligent homicide. Well, they didn't. They saw through this farce of a trial. Per Matthew Russell, who's with Inner City Press, he was inside the courtroom when the verdict was read. He reports that applause rang out from Daniel Penny's side in the courtroom. Meanwhile, someone over on Neely's side, some are describing him as the victim. He wasn't the victim. He was the aggressor. He was the criminal on that subway car that day who was seriously threatening other passengers. He had a long history of hurting them. And somebody on his side yelled out in the courtroom, "It's a racist country. Hello, madam or sir, that's not working anymore. You're going to have to find a new line. I don't know what it's going to be. But the BLM era is officially over. It's over. You had us in some sort of weird, psychotic headspin for 4 or 5 years, and it's done. Trump's reelected, and Daniel Penny is acquitted in one of the most leftist jurisdictions in America, despite the fact that he is white and Jordan Neely was black. And they're still yelling, "It's a racist country, you fools. You absolute fools." And by the way, it's not just someone over on Jordan Neely's side. We had news coming into today that the outgoing chair of the DNC said his party is insane if they think the message of this election was to rethink identity politics. Double down, sir. Triple down. Quadruple. Do it. Enjoy oblivion. Enjoy your desert island where you have no one applauding anything you say and certainly no one voting for you. I look forward to watching you there. CNN reports that Neely's father also had to be escorted from the courtroom after shouting an expletive. Where was he? Where was he when Jordan Neely had dozens of arrests over the years, when he was punching 67-year-old women in the face? Where was the grieving dad then? I'm not sure. Now he's suing Daniel Penny. Oh, okay. You're going to get your money. Now you're totally behind your son. I don't feel sorry for you. I don't. Sorry, I don't. Meantime, the Associated Press did what that vile organization always does. Sent out a breaking news tweet on the verdict that read, "Breaking. Daniel Penny, the veteran who used a chokehold on subway rider Jordan Neely, has been acquitted in Neely's death." Yes. Neely, who went on the train and, was just singing and dancing in his Michael Jackson routine. Is that what he was doing, AP? Or was there more than that? He actually was shouting out at the commuters, "Someone's going to die today." He was on K2, some hugely intensive drug. There was testimony that the drugs could have been the cause of his death. That's how cracked up he was. And he's just a regular subway rider. Mean, terrible, racist Jordan Neely, for some unknown reason, put him in a chokehold and died and killed him, notwithstanding all the evidence we have about what Jordan Neely was doing to the subway riders that day.
Spot on. Spot on. You know, last week, Assistant Manhattan District Attorney Daphne Yorn, the prosecutor for Daniel Penny's case, just a few years ago, she came out. She talked about a case that she did just a few years ago where she dramatically reduced the sentence of a black man who brutally killed an Asian man during an ATM robbery. You guys might have all seen this. The story is traumatic. It's very sad. But she didn't want to apply the law, which clearly would have applied to the assailant's conduct. But because she wanted to try a new novel concept called retrospective justice, and also because the killer was black, she wanted to reduce the case. In the Penny case, though, this same prosecutor is using a novel approach for the opposite reason. She decided this time she would want to punish a defendant in a homicide case. So she employed every legal technicality in the book, some aren't even in the book, to throw him in prison and to get him convicted. Absolutely ludicrous. Jordan Neely, a complete menace to society with 42 priors who hit old ladies in the face, unlike the Asian professor who was murdered at the ATM machine trying to just withdraw some money to go back home. But unlike the man who killed that Asian professor, Daniel Penny is white. And for that reason and that reason alone, the jury in this case was forced to continue deliberations even after they couldn't come to a conclusion. This was a sham trial from the beginning. Let's all be happy it's over. Trump got in power. The world is starting to come back to a sense of common sense and normalcy. FBLM. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that thumbs up button for your boy. Consider subscribing to the channel. Help it grow. Catch you all in the next one.